A musical gumbo celebrating the birthplace of jazz. You're watching Encore, and that's what's coming up on today's show. Mardi Gras, marching bands, second-line parades, the rich cultural heritage of New Orleans provided the inspiration for Hugh Coltman's latest album, Who's Happy? The singer-songwriter has captured the essence of the Big Easy and is here today to tell me all about it. Hugh, welcome to the show. Thank you for being here.
Thanks for having me.
Your latest album, Who's Happy, was inspired by the city of New Orleans and its rich musical culture. And it all kind of started with the David Simon series Treme, if I'm correct.
I think that was maybe a catalyst. I mean, I've listened to kind of New Orleans trad jazz for quite a long time and stuff inspired by it. But I don't know. I mean, there was a point when I was writing for the new album, and that program just inspired me so much and got me so excited that I thought, hey, why not? So I went to New Orleans maybe about 5-6 months before we recorded to see some studios and meet some musicians, and I just thought, hey, I mean, it's so much easier when you're there. It seems in France like a massive, impossible task, but when you're actually there, it's just calling up musicians and going to a studio like anywhere. So yeah,
it's one of my favourite cities as well, and I also loved the series Treme. Now, you recorded the album in 6 days with a bunch of musicians you didn't really know from before. How did you get the musical chemistry going?
Well, it was touch and go. I mean, you never know how it's going to happen. I took over Raphael Chassin, my drummer, the drummer I play with, and Freddie Coella, a fantastic guitarist who also produced the album. He's also worked with Bob Dylan and many others.
Wow.
And the first song was the most important moment because you don't know how it's going to go. I mean, these were musicians that I've met, like the pianist I'd met 5-6 months ago, but the others not at all. So it's basically a case of, hi, how you doing? Let's start the first song. And luckily, it went well. It could have gone awfully badly.
Now, one of the singles off the album is called Sugar-Coated Pill. The title is really intriguing. What's it about?
Well, Sugar-Coated Pill I wrote when I was in New Orleans for that period before the recording. It's the first time I've been in the States since the election of Trump. It's the first time I've ever spent any time in a place in the States that's not a major metropole, you know, like it's not New Orleans, it's not New York. Or Los Angeles. It's less cosmopolitan. I mean, Louisiana, the state of Louisiana voted for Trump apart from New Orleans. It's the only canton.
New Orleans is a sort of a Democrat island within the state of Louisiana,
indeed,
which is traditionally a red state.
Then outside Louisiana, you've got Texas, which was all those states that basically voted for Trump.
Red states.
And for me, it was sad because it's a country I love, and I've always loved musically. It's always been inspiring for me, the music that's come from America. And then when you actually see how it treats its own people, it felt sad to see that. The Republicans tend to build this structure of Americans, we don't need anyone, we don't need any help, you know, you can do it all by yourself. But some people really do need help. You know, a society should be measured, as Clement Attlee said, a society must be measured by how it treats its poorest and its yeah.
Okay, well, let's take a listen, Hugh. This is Sugar-Coated Pill.
Sugar-coated pill, take one every morning to cure your ills. Well, a sugar-coated pill, a sugar-coated pill. The sugar don't get you, then the pill sure will.
Hugh, for many musicians, New Orleans is such sacred ground. We know it's the birthplace of jazz. So what did you learn after spending time in the city and spending time working alongside some of the city's finest musicians?
What I learned is that music is just music. I mean, being in New Orleans was amazing, but when you're in a studio and you close the door and you go record and it starts, you've just got to make the music. There's a certain sass that those players have got.
Yeah.
They're not the greatest players in the world, but they've got this lazy, sassy thing going on that was inspiring to play with. Also, you know, being in New Orleans, it's a big deal. You know, you turn up, you're an English guy. Even though I've been living in France for a long time, turning up with 2 French musicians to play in New Orleans with New Orleans musicians. But once again, we did the first song, and the sax player went up to the drummer and said, "Man, you're a bête sauvage." So, I mean, it was, je vais pas dire, it wasn't like gagné d'avance. It wasn't, you know, it wasn't instantly won, but we created a good vibe, and we created a space for musicians. And another thing with this album is, for me, it was important that musicians have a lot of liberty.
Right.
So I turned up with, at Freddie Coelho's instance, I turned up with no demos, just with the songs written out, simple charts. And so there's a lot of liberty for musicians. There was a lot of freedom. It wasn't, okay, you've got 6 bars of a solo here. It's like, well, let's just play it and see what happens.
Well, you said that in New Orleans, the primal call comes first. What do you mean by that?
I didn't remember saying that, but that's good. I'm far more intelligent than I take credit for.
Well, that's according to your website's bio. So
okay, well, good.
Maybe the PR was...
well, for me, it's more like a primal scream to an extent. Because I think in a lot of countries where life is tough, I mean, we see on this video of these marching bands, there are no white people in the band, and it is a segregated town, even though it shouldn't be. On paper, it's not. But when you go to the schools where all the music is taught, most of them are poor Afro-Americans. And I think it's their way of thinking, well, how am I going to get out? Because what else have I got? So they practice and they work on their music. And I think that's why it's this primal scream. It's like playing because you've got nothing else to do. There's no other chance. So they play for their lives.
Well, another one of the singles off the album is called It's Your Voodoo Working, which is a cover of the early 60s hit by Charles Sheffield. Let's take a listen.
Well, slow down, baby, you are going too fast. Love is voodoo and it just can't last. I cried last night and the night before. 20 long hours and my eyes are sore.
Well, Hugh, you started out in blues, folk and rock before making a transition into jazz. In 2017, you won Vocalist of the Year at the Victoire du Jazz Awards, thanks to your critically acclaimed tribute to Nat King Cole. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Do you feel like jazz is where you belong, that it was sort of confirmation that you found your musical calling?
I don't know if I'd say that. I mean, jazz has been very good to me. I've enjoyed singing the Nat King Cole album and also singing with the French pianist Eric Lenini, who kind of started me off, if you like, on this course. But I've always listened to jazz. I've always listened to a lot of music. And for me, there's 2 types of music, as Frank Zappa once said, good music and bad music.
Right.
So, you know, the next album, maybe a rock album or whatever that actually means. What I love about jazz is the freedom it gives to musicians. That's one thing I really do love, that you can be playing one night, you'll play the same song, and you'll play the same song the next night, and it will be very different. That's one thing I do appreciate. But for me, it's just the music that comes to me, the music that I feel like I want to do.
Okay, well, one of your friends was kind enough to share their first memories of hearing you sing. Let's hear from fellow singer, the fabulous Ms. China Moses.
Oh, yeah.
I don't remember the first time I heard Hugh's voice, but I know I screamed. Hugh makes women scream, and he'll be very shy about that. But yeah, when that man sings the blues, it's something else. I can't really replace that one time, but I know that the singing experience of singing with him face to face and stuff was pretty incredible. He's a very sensitive and expressive singer voice, and he's a great songwriter.
Hugh, what do you make of that? China Moses having lovely words, yeah?
I am touched. I'll send the ballon right back to you, China, because I think she's fantastic, and that was a nice surprise.
A nice surprise indeed. Well, you're a Brit living here in France. French audiences have really embraced you and your music. What do you love about making music here in France?
Well, I mean, I came here originally. My gran lived here. I lived with my gran when I was a kid, and I came here originally because I wanted to learn French. Kind of like the year off, I was in my old band for a long time, and then I came here just for a year. That was the idea, to learn French, and then it became 18 months and then 2 years. And I guess a city or a country is about who you meet. And for me, I met good people quite soon. And so I stayed. And what do I love about making music here? That I've found great musicians and good people to make music with. I mean, I could have found those anywhere, but it just happened here. When something feels right, I'll just go with it.
Well, you fell in with a good crowd then.
Yeah.
Hugh, thank you so much for being with us today. You're going to play us out with the song Hand-Me-Downs, which is one of the tracks from the album Who's Happy. Catch Hugh Coltman on tour with some big dates coming up in July, including the Montreux Jazz Festival, the Festival de Jazz Django Reinhardt, and Jazz in Marciac. Catch up with past culture shows on our website and stay in touch on social media. Keep it right here on France 24. Take it away, Hugh.
Une carte postale d'Écosse, du chocolat au calvados, moitié entamée, 2 sacs de DVD, d'une série de télé, toujours emballée, et 3 cravates encrassées, la société où il bossait. Pendant les années, là, dessous l'escalier, une photo de jeunes mariés abandonnés. Hand-me-downs, all the baggage that you drag around. Hand-me-downs.